What is up, guys? Delboy here. So Guillermo Rigondeaux knocks out Giovanni Delgado in one round to mark his return to the ring. Rigondeaux has been inactive since his December 2017 loss to Vasyl Lomachenko. He's been missing in action, nobody's seen this guy, but last night he made his return to the ring, and like I said, he got a first round stoppage. Now the fight itself wasn't too interesting. It was what it was. It was a comeback fight against a low level of opponent. That's what we expected after 13 months outside of the ring. But Rigondeaux did what he had to do. Rigondeaux in this fight was a lot more flat-footed. He was coming forward. He was letting his big left hand go, and you could tell he was being aggressive, which was nice to see. As soon as Delgado felt the power and precision of Rigondeaux, he really wanted out, and you could tell it wasn't going to the final bell. Rigondeaux also, varied that left hand to the body and the head. A couple of the left hands to the body did stray a bit low, but all in all, he was doing a good job. And towards the end of the round, Rigondeaux's trademark left hand catches Delgado's chin, and Delgado takes a knee and doesn't get up. He had enough of what Rigondeaux had to offer. So all in all, Rigondeaux did what he had to do. You can't write home about the victory or even read too much into it, but it was refreshing to see Rigondeaux just blast this guy out of there. In the past, when Rigondeaux has fought lesser competition, sometimes he'll labour to like a points win, and he didn't need that last night. He needed to go in there and blast this guy out, and that's exactly what he did. Now he can move on with his career. Whether he adopts that style going forwards, in terms of being more flat-footed and being more aggressive, I'm not so sure. I think he would revert to type when he steps back up, but that remains to be seen. Where does Rigondeaux go from here? He is saying he will compete at both featherweight and super featherweight. He will take on any of the big names in either division. That's good to hear. I think he's best off at featherweight, to be honest. I think that's where he should be. He can fight guys like Gary Russell Jr. That would be a really good fight, and it would also be makeable. Gary Russell Jr. is with the PBC and Al Heyman, as is Rigondeaux. That fight could get made, and it's a fight I would like to see. I don't want to see Rigondeaux waste any more time. I want to see what he has left, and I want to see if he can redeem himself from that Vasyl Lomachenko loss. And if he were to jump in there with a Gary Russell Jr. and win, that would be a really good look. He would become a two-weight world champion, and his name would be relevant again. Guillermo Rigondeaux is in a position now where he has to take every opportunity that is given to him. He can't afford to be a diva, he can't afford to waste time, and he can't afford to lose at this point. He needs to take every opportunity he gets with open arms, and he needs to make the most of them. In the past, Rigondeaux has had some bad luck. For example, Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton ducking him. Also, the HBO fiasco was a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, Rigondeaux's diehard fans also made a lot of excuses for him, and they made out that Rigondeaux was purely a victim of the boxing game, when in reality that's not really true. It's kind of in the middle. Rigondeaux turned down a lot of opportunities. I mean, recently, he turned down the opportunity to be in the World Boxing Super Series Bantamweight tournament. Now, for the longest, we was told by Rigondeaux's fans that Rigondeaux is a small super bantamweight. Now, if that was the case, he would have entered the World Boxing Super Series Bantamweight tournament, but the reason he gave was he couldn't really make the weight that well. So that was a big opportunity he turned down. Also, when he fought in Japan against Amagasa, he could have had a further 2 more fights in Japan. He had a TV deal, but he turned that down. He turned his back on it. He could have been active. Rigondeaux has had opportunities. He's had opportunities to fight 2 pound-for-pound level fighters in 19 fights. He fought Donaire when Donaire was pound-for-pound number 3 or 4. He fought Vasyl Lomachenko when Lomachenko was pound-for-pound. So Rigondeaux's had opportunities. Yes, he's had some bad luck. Yes, he's had some politics against him. But it's not to the extent that a lot of you guys make it out to be. It's really not. Yes, he was ducked by Carl Frampton, Chris Avalos and Scott Quigg, but let's not make out like Rigondeaux hasn't had any opportunities in boxing. I mean, he talked his way into the Lomachenko fight. Lomachenko didn't even want that fight because he felt it would be easy, but Rigondeaux asked for it, Rigondeaux's fans asked for it, they got it, and the result was what it was. But from this point onwards, Rigondeaux needs to make the most of every single opportunity he has, and he needs to keep winning. Let's see where he goes. I've never been one of these people who have said Rigondeaux has always been a dull fighter or a boring fighter. The only fights I didn't really like from Rigondeaux was the Agbeko fight and the Francisco fight. Apart from that, I've always found Rigondeaux fairly entertaining. I loved the Donaire fight. That was my favourite performance of 2013. I loved the way he dissected him and took him apart slowly. I also enjoyed the Robert Marroquin fight. I enjoyed the Tion Kennedy fight. I liked the Cordoba fight, the Willie Casey fight. You know, Rigondeaux has had some good knockouts. He has had some entertaining performances. I've never viewed him as this ultra boring fighter like a lot of people do, and I've enjoyed several of his fights, but at the same time, it's not like I've got invested interest in Rigondeaux, so I kind of see the situation for what it is. He's a guy who's made some terrible career decisions, and he is a guy who's had good opportunities in the sport, but at the same time, certain fighters have ducked him in the past. So it is what it is. Can Rigondeaux salvage his career? I don't think it's out of the question for him to get some good wins at featherweight, and I would like to see him fight fellow PBC featherweights, guys like Gary Russell Jr., like I mentioned, or even Leo Santa Cruz. That was a guy in the past who did duck Rigondeaux, so they are two good fights I would like to see. Let's hope they get made. Share your thoughts below. Peace.